Psst. Hey, you ready for a Viva on the street? Ready for a Viva on the street. Second in 1 week because the news just keeps newsing, and I wasn't going to do a video tonight. It's Saturday. It was New Year's Eve last night. The first New Year's Eve in my life spent under curfew because Supreme Leader, Premier of Quebec, decides to call a curfew on December 30th, effective 5 o'clock in the afternoon, December 31st, 2021, meaning that New Year's Eve was canceled because supreme leaders think they have the ability, the power, the authority, and the moral authority to cancel traditions that are quite literally 2021 years old. Cancel New Year's, curfew, shut restaurants down, cancel school, at least in person, until January 17, if it ever goes back at that point. Setting that aside, I did a Viva on the street to explain the new curfew measures in Quebec. How it looks like, in no uncertain terms, Quebec has fallen to a dictator that no one seems to question, no one seems to challenge, and by and large, people seem to support. The news of the week was, when I did my last Viva on the street, those new curfew measures. And I was going to do a video today on Project Veritas's judgment, favorable judgment, against the New York Times, enjoining or prohibiting the New York Times from publishing, disclosing, or otherwise releasing the solicitor-client privilege memos that they got, yada, yada, yada. I'll do a video on it yet. But then I read the news that the next step in Quebec's lockdown and curfew measures, I'm going to make sure I don't get hit by a car here. Under the old curfew measures, the 1 month curfew that lasted 5 months a year ago, the unscientific curfew that Horatio Arruda acknowledged was unscientific when they implemented it for the first time, that 1 month curfew that lasted 5 months a year ago, that we're now in version 2.0 for. By the way, funny joke, 2022 just means 2020 version 2, because that's what it feels like we're living through. It's like a version of Groundhog Day, Dumb and Dumber, except now it's Supreme Leader François Legault has imposed a curfew. And whereas under the old curfew, there was an exemption for dog walking. You could leave your house after 8 o'clock so long as you were walking a dog, but because the government thinks through everything, because they're so damn smart, they said you could only walk your dog within 1 kilometer of your house. So you could be out of your house after curfew so long as you're walking a dog, so long as it's within 1 kilometer vicinity of your house, because that's how you fight coronavirus. That's what they implemented the last time around. This time, by the way, no exemption for dog walking, because the curfew starts at 10 o'clock and goes to 5 in the morning. And the government has literally removed the exemption that it included the last time it implemented the unscientific curfew to fight a virus. You cannot leave your house after 10 o'clock, even to walk a dog. And I want to know, from the government that says trust the science, from the government that demonizes people who do not trust the science or who question the science, from that government, I would like to see the data indicating that the spreaders of the coronavirus are people walking their dogs during the unlawful and unscientific curfew in the first place. But you won't see that. What you will see is a society that will just willfully, gleefully, or silently, or begrudgingly accept these idiotic, unscientific, dictatorial measures. It is like the government is basically needling society, saying, how many stupid things can I make you do before you finally react? And lo and behold, the answer is as many as they tell us to. Robert Malone was on Joe Rogan today, talked about mass formation psychosis. It's not the first time I had heard about it, so it wasn't all that new to listen to him describe it.
What the heck happened in Germany in the 20s and 30s? Very intelligent, highly educated population, and they went barking mad. And how did that happen? The answer is mass formation psychosis. When you have a society that has become decoupled from each other and has free-floating anxiety and a sense that things don't make sense, we can't understand it, and then their attention gets focused by a leader or a series of events on one small point, just like hypnosis, they literally become hypnotized and can be led anywhere. And one of the aspects of that phenomena is the people that they identify as their leaders, the ones typically that come in and say, you have this pain and I can solve it for you, I and I alone. okay, can fix this problem for you, okay, then they will follow that person through. It doesn't matter whether they lie to him or whatever. The data are irrelevant. And furthermore, anybody who questions that narrative is to be immediately attacked. They are the other.
But if this is not mass formation psychosis, nothing is. This is society at large being conditioned, being trained to accept, believe, repeat, regurgitate, and above all else, abide by absolutely insanely, psychotically idiotic measures which are not scientific, which are not anything. And incidentally, to give full credit to Tom MacDonald, because Tom MacDonald, in one of his songs, I forget which, said, you know, when an individual goes crazy, people are quiet about it and people talk about it. But when society as a whole goes crazy, it's just totally socially acceptable.
If a man has mental illness, call him crazy, say it silently. When country's going crazy, we accept it as society.
There is no doubt we are in a mass formation psychosis. But this last iteration of the mass psychosis is beyond psychotic, because you have a government which constantly reiterates. Let me just turn around and start walking back. Beautiful, beautiful Christmas lights, by the way. I don't know if you see them in the background. You have a government which says, trust the science. Trust the science, and if you don't, you're a bigot, misogynist, racist, xenophobe, whatever. And they are now saying, you can't walk your dog after 10 o'clock in the latest combat against coronavirus. It's absurd and it's preposterous, but I want to see where the data is. I want to see where the science is. You will recall, by the way, that Supreme Leader, Sunset Thief, and now New Year's Eve thief, François Legault, did not want to have a public debate on the vaccine passports because he did not want society to be exposed to misinformation and false information and propaganda, yada, yada. He didn't want to have the public debate on the implementation of the vaccine passport because he did not want society as a whole to be exposed to misinformation. I would like to see the data on which they are basing this madness, this insanity, this lunacy. I would like to see what information, what data, what science they think justifies prohibiting people from walking their dogs between 10 in the evening and 5 in the morning as relates to anything that has anything to do with COVID, because this has nothing to do with COVID. 2 years ago, when people were saying the mask mandates have nothing to do with COVID, it has to do with compliance, I was skeptical. I didn't call them names. I was just skeptical hearing their message. I'm not skeptical anymore. This has nothing to do with science. This has nothing to do with COVID. This has to do with social control. This has to do with the government destroying the most fundamental fabrics of society: family, education, religion, science, and replacing themselves in those once formidable pillars. This is the government basically pushing the limits just to see how much can they get away with in society. How much of the venerable institutions, the foundations, the bedrock of what was society, free society, educated, enlightened society, how much of that can they replace? Can they replace family? Can they force you to isolate and be away from your family? Can they lock you out of your educational institutions? Can they lock you out of your religious institutions? Can they basically tell you what to do every minute of the day? Can they tell you what to inject into your body, what to put over your face, what to do with your kids, where to do with your kids, lock your kids up in a room and feed them under a door if they've been exposed? Can they get away with doing it? And they've gotten away with doing it step by step, increment by increment, inch by inch. And we are now 2 years into this. And in Quebec, whereas, I mean, I'm literally 9 kilometers from the border with the United States, where there they have massive parties. They got their problems, but they were still living life. Yeah, thank you very much. Hey, by the way, just so, hey, François Legault, look at that. Look at that, François. Explain the difference, person. Explain it. Oh, yeah, no, here we go. Not that I mind being locked up in my house with my mother-in-law. I don't mind. She's a very nice woman. Or my sister-in-law, a very nice woman. Or my daughter. No, just explain that to me. I don't know what you're... Oh, are they kissing with a mask on? Yeah. Okay, well, that's straight up crazy right there. But explain the difference. Explain it, Frank. Okay, yeah, explain it all. Oh, but they're wearing masks. All right. Yeah, it's science, because we have a virulent virus in Quebec. That's it. That's what we have in Quebec. I don't know what her problem is, but yeah. Hey Frank, you have failed the province and everyone in it. Congratulations. Happy 2022. We are 9 kilometers north of that, and what are we doing? People cannot walk their dogs after 10 o'clock at night. Funny story, by the way, when they first implemented that, a woman walked her husband on a leash after curfew and did not pass the test for what was acceptable, but that's where we are now. And some people are saying that this was a response to the Viva on the streets, where I would take my dog out after curfew and walk him and talk and complain and rant and expose the sheer lunacy of what's going on in Quebec to the rest of the world. Some people were saying this is a response to that. It would not be the first time, in my humble opinion, that the Canadian government might have crafted a law to respond to some of my conduct back in the day when my vlogs were about happiness and fun and joy and all things good in the world. I caught a bass with a drone. It was, I'm not saying this to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying this to exaggerate. It was a top 5 moment in my life, as I think it will be for the rest of my life. I caught a bass off my drone trolling a jitterbug, and it was glorious. Actually, it was right in this body of water right behind me, which you can't see. Did you just see the fish? I got a fish. Oh my gosh. Holy crab apples. Holy cows. Oh my gosh! Marion! And then a couple of years later, they passed a law, they revamped their drone laws and outlawed transportation of living animals via drone. I jokingly said that's to respond to what I did, but I don't think it was. I think it totally applies to a different type of behavior, but whatever. Now they are outlawing walking your dog after curfew. And some people are saying this is because Viva, they heard you, they saw you, and they want to silence you. No, not really, because I never walk my dog after 10 o'clock anyhow, by and large. But I might think about doing it now. But I might not. Because I don't think there's any saving a society that actually sits back and says, yeah, makes sense. Don't want to overload the healthcare facilities. I mean, we've had 2 years of a pandemic for the government to know that that's where the problem lies. And instead of them doing something there, they've done nothing there. What they do is lock you in your home and tell you you can't walk your dog after 10 o'clock at night. No, I do not think that there's anything that can be done to save a society that actually willfully surrenders the most basic, fundamental, core values that made society what it was and what it was worth living for in the first place. So that's the update. Can't walk your dog after 10 o'clock at night under the new curfew rules, and we'll see how long this goes. Oh yeah, because last time it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That was 2 years ago. Last year was 1 month curfew to flatten the curve, which lasted 5 months. And 1 year later, any idiot who still trusts the government and believes a damn word they're saying, I don't mean to call you idiots. If you do believe it, I will call you naive, willfully ignorant, idiotic, but I won't call you an idiot. But I might be thinking it. Anybody who is trusting the government, anybody who is actually relying on the government for any meaningful direction that does not consist in throwing a dart at a board with a bunch of words on it, the government is playing a Ouija board with their instructions as to how to combat this coronavirus, because the underlying problem is one that they have not addressed, will not address, because it's too costly, it's decades in the making, and it reveals their outrageous incompetence and corruption that spans decades. So what's easier than fixing that? Lock us down, tell us, sorry, kitty dog, you can't poop between 10 and 5 in the morning, and if you do, and you go outside, I would love to see them give someone a ticket. It won't be me that does it. And I don't encourage other people to do it. But if my dog has diarrhea, gosh darn it, I'll be going out there and walking him with pride and see if anybody stops me. Quebec, from la belle province to la province de la manie, folie, idiotique, tabarnouche, c'est de la merde monumentale. Just absolute crap. Congratulations, François Legault. I wanted to do a January 1st meaningful vlog to deal with law, and instead I have to do a vlog to deal with your absolute incompetent, corrupt idiocy. And by the way, nice tweet yesterday. It's nice that you're clicking champagne glasses with your wife in your new $3.5 million penthouse after selling your $5 million mansion. It's nice, it's nice. I have no doubt that you and the members of your government are doing exactly what you're telling everyone else to do, which is celebrate New Year's Eve alone. I have no doubt you're doing it. Hashtag sarcasm. Bunch of hypocrites, corrupt losers, and everybody knows it. And the less everybody says about it, man, the more deep this mass formation psychosis goes. So with that said, people, hunker down. It's going to be another 3 weeks to 5 months of curfew. Viva Frei, you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, yada, yada. Share the video so people know what is going on and how far things have actually fallen in a matter of 24 months. Peace.